So I realize I probably look like Susi from the band singer Susi. That is not what I was going for. I thought the star would be obvious, but... Oh, by the way, I have a microphone now. I found my microphone, so now my sugar daddy won't have to buy me a freaking new one. Coercion, because if I am choosing to consent... I wanted to watch the film to get like a cold slap of reality. Hot water, so I am literally sweating buckets. The whole club was looking and was looking at her. An epiphany hit me the other day, a new video idea for me to talk about. Now in the 1920s and 1930s, following World War I, there existed a group of disillusioned writers and artists called the Silent. The Lost Generation. Some of these writers might sound familiar. T.S. Eliot, Gertrude Stein, Ernest Hemingway, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald is most noteworthy for writing The Great Gatsby. They were disillusioned by the world around them. They were traumatized by the horrors they had seen, disease and war, and they were expressing that through dismal, pessimistic, tragic artwork. In the 2020s, we had another phenomenon. We had school shootings, we had police brutality, and we had a pandemic that shut down the world for about 3 years. Out of that came a new generation of artists and writers. They were singers who started composing shortly before or during the pandemic, and they became verified artists on TikTok, Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, and they are what I'd like to call the second lost generation. Now, these people were called the Lost Generation because they were detached from the world around them. They were depressed and miserable while everyone was celebrating the Roaring 20s and the prosperity of that. And now we have a new generation of musicians who are expressing that disconnect, that dissociation, and that depression in music. So, quick rundown of Generation Z. I'm sure we're all aware. Generation Z was born into a post-apocalyptic environment. While people like to make fun of the millennials and say that millennials had everything handed to them, millennials were promised prosperity and success if they worked hard for it. They had a happy little childhood where they got to wear colorful stripy clothing, they had their morning cartoons, they had their dial-up internet, they had their MSN and their AOL, and once they hit college and eventually adulthood, that's when they realized, hey, the world kind of sucks. We inherited a very broken world. Gen Z didn't really have that. Gen Z was brought into a post-9/11 world. A few of Gen Z were born before 9/11. Throughout our early childhoods, the Syrian war was going on, the Afghanistan war was going on, we had multiple economic crashes. In the news, my generation is so used to seeing
this country is declaring war on this country, and this country was bombed.
School shootings don't even faze us because they happen all the time. In addition to that, most Zoomers grew up on screen. They watched a bunch of traumatizing YouTube videos that destroyed their brain, and they grew up when they were 10 and 11 when they were getting Snapchat and Instagram, whereas the previous generation was in college when they were getting Facebook. Well, the internet millennials was designed to be a Wild West and to be as entertaining as possible. The internet of Generation Z was scrubbed clean of all the traumatizing stuff, but not before most of Gen Z got to witness some of it. And it was refined into an addictive hellscape for children to scroll through, to have endless things to click on, and to have ridiculous things to compare their body to. And as if this wasn't bad enough, during some of the most critical developing years of Generation Z, COVID struck. Generation Z is also a more godless society, where the teachers are making it very clear that all the kids are here by accident, and that they don't really want to teach the kids anyway, or they don't really care how the kid does anyway. And then the teachers think they can remedy it by bringing meditation sessions into the classroom. When COVID hit and all the teenagers were stuck inside and bored, it makes sense that they would grab a guitar, a ukulele, and start composing music. Musicians between the ages of maybe 16 to 24. These musicians have been composing since, I want to say, 2018 to the present. They mostly got their start on TikTok and going viral with little guitar tunes. They started out playing the guitar in their garage or their bedroom. Generally speaking, the great majority of them are queer. Some noteworthy musicians that I would consider, one of the biggest growing ones at the moment is TX2. Everybody's worried about Owen, Koruk, Sushi Susi, Addison Grace, Violet Stanza, Birds Fear Death, We Are the Dirt, Broccoli Boy, Penelope Scott, and Blue Foster are just a fragment of all these musicians that have come out. What sort of makes these songs all distinct, while a lot of them are about relationships,
as many songs are,
most of the songs about relationships are texting-based relationships. They almost always bring up texting and replying and responding and thinking of what to say. They are very introspective and critical. They do tend to use a lot of what we call therapy speak, where they use words like gaslighting and manipulation, narcissism, and other fancy technical words just dropping casually in the song. They do have kind of a precocious way of viewing relationships while still being very naive and vulnerable. And these songs also tend to explore gender a lot, mental illness, obviously, and self-harm, and of course, one topic that seems to show up in a lot of these songs is pseudo-Christianity. So most of the people in my generation did not grow up in Christian families, or they might have grown up in families who descended from Christian families where maybe they were familiar with church and some Bible stories, but they were never really taught to have a personal relationship with God. So some of them either grow a... Why are you leaving that door open? So a lot of them tend to develop a disdain for Christianity, influenced by social media, enjoying hating on Christians and Puritanism, or some of them develop twisted, obscured, virtual relationships with God, where they try to connect with God in their head and have a conversation-based relationship with Him, but they have a very distorted view of who God is. So some songs that explore pseudo-Christianity include No Love Like Christian Hate by TX2, Rat by Penelope Scott, Do You Still Believe in God by Birds Fear Death, Sleepwalk and Sleepwalking by Everyone's Worried About Owen. These songs also tend to explore gender identity, such as I Wanna Be a Boy by Addison Grace, I Don't Think I'm a Boy by Blue Foster, Gasping by Violet Stanza, and Talking About Brie by Megagon Free. Another recurring theme is self-harm, such as I Deserve to Bleed by Sushi Susi, pretty much any song by Birds Fear Death, and Counting the Days by We Are the Dirt. So there are some artists I want to explore a little more in depth to give you a better idea what a Lost Generation musician sounds like. I might also be considered a Lost Generation musician, despite the fact that I don't have a Spotify platform.
I like one.
If anyone knows an agent who can get me there, or a producer who can get me there, please let me know. Currently, I do have a SoundCloud account that you can follow. SoundCloud is annoying because if you don't have SoundCloud Pro, you are limited with what you're allowed to upload. So my favorite musicians from this generation are Birds Fear Death, We Are the Dirt, Everybody's Worried About Owen, and Violet Stanza.
Woman isn't all getting dressed up and doing your makeup. You're right, it's a lot of things. Playing as the female character in video games and still kicking. Pulling someone's hair out of the way to zip their dress or clasp their bra. It's never being afraid to use emojis, especially the pink ones. It's knowing how to tie a tie so you can always make sure your date looks handsome. It's all the little razor bumps on your legs and your arms and your face and the bottom of your stomach. It's taking off your shoes halfway through the night. It's creating literal works of art on our nails and our eyelash.
Dude, write more songs. Write more songs. You've written like 4 songs since 2020. I have written 5 albums since 2022. Pick up your game, girl. Come on.
every one of these 4 artists I mentioned has he, they, or she, they pronouns.
I'm not here to make this video too crap on gender specials. I happen to like these musicians. I happen to share a lot of similarities with them. They want to be a gender special. I don't want to annoy them, and I don't want to annoy you, so I'm just going to kind of avoid pronouns right now.
I'm Kelly. I have a project called Birds Fear Death.
The Birds Fear Death musician is a trans girl named Kelly Wilhite, who's about my age, as all these people are. And Kelly started composing music in 2019. Kelly's music is extremely dark, probably the darkest music I've ever listened to, other than straight up black metal.
What do you write songs about?
Mostly killing myself.
Kelly's most recent album is called Livestream Death Compilation, using a lot of themes that revolve around online horror and internet mysteries and the dark web and red rooms and live streaming horrific incidents, drugs, snuff films. I think what I like about Kelly's songs is just how raw and intense they are and how they do give me a lot of emotions.
What kind of music would you say Birds Fear Death is?
I've heard everything from like shoegaze to like black metal.
Wow.
And like, I don't know. I guess I'm not entirely sure. I just like, I guess noise pop is like the one that I like default to.
Kelly's music is very difficult to listen to.
It's as if the gain is chopped up to 100.
Kelly's voice is also generally distorted, but some of Kelly's earlier songs do include the natural voice. My favorite song by Kelly is Bodies, which I have done a cover for. That song is a very simple song with mostly just a guitar and a pretty, unchanged vocal track.
I am never enough, never
We Are the Dirt's singer is Cassandra Williams, and Cassandra has been writing music, I think, also since 2019, maybe 2020, I could be wrong. The problem with describing all these artists is that they are all basically kids. I mean, sure, they're in their early 20s now, but they are extremely small artists. They have barely any information on the internet about them. So it's difficult to find their personal stories. Cassie's songs tend to explore relationships, feeling of inadequacy, self-loathing, self-harm. Cassandra has a really strong voice and usually has very simple instrumentals such as a guitar.
You'd say, darling, you know I could break you, and you let me, I think our time is up. I'd say, please, you don't have to break me. You know that just hearing from you is enough to make me smile. But I know you're right, I'd let you ruin me, and I wouldn't even put up a fight. But you said I was the best you've ever had. But you didn't. I'm just making up things that never came out your mouth, so I can go write it down and sing it. But you won't even hear this. You don't even listen to my music. But I still sing every song like I'm singing to you.
So I'll give myself a name, something stupid and pretentious like moth spelled with the C.
Everybody's worried about Owen. I don't know if anyone remembers the song Moss that went like, so I'll give myself a name, something stupid and pretentious like moss spelled with a C. Yeah, that became a trend on Instagram for trans people to share their new preferred names. So Owen Trawick writes very complicated ballads that kind of just follow a rather difficult mental trip. We're taking on journeys throughout Owen's songs, and it's as if Owen is writing songs from deep inside himself that are so introspective. outsiders will have a hard time understanding. There is a lot of imagery and comparison, but it's all very specific and obscure and hard to understand. Owen has pretty simple vocals, usually just a guitar and Owen's own voice. Sometimes the songs are about relationships. Most of the songs are about fear of losing control or losing his mind. One song that really stands out is Gut Punch, which is also partnered with Don't Meet Your Heroes. Gut Punch is kind of just the Zoomer experience in a nutshell. Feeling unstable, feeling out of control, depressed and miserable, but also the guilty feeling of, I'm so privileged, I don't really have any issues in my life, I shouldn't be so miserable, I shouldn't be complaining all the time, I am weak, I am selfish. Right now I actually look the part of a Lost Generation musician. I'm thinking this is giving a little bit of Cave Town, but anyways, no shade to Violet Stanza. I decided I wasn't actually going to talk about Violet Stanza's music. I'm sorry, but you only have 4 songs. You didn't give me much to work with. Anyways, Sushi Susi.
Isn't on our side, or maybe he is. We could all just be a rock in his shoe.
I really enjoy Susi's songs I Deserve to Bleed and Rock in God's Shoe. Susi is the kind of person I would get along with, but probably hate behind their back. Just kidding, that's a joke. Susi and I actually have a little bit in common. Susi also wrote a musical and has several singles, I think maybe even an album at this point. But Susi has been composing music since around 2018, that's the earliest video on Susi's channel, and has been publishing music on Spotify and Apple Music and SoundCloud since 2019. Susi's music is definitely quite philosophical, a bit self-loathing, very introspective, very frequently about relationships in general. I forgot to mention this, but Susi tends to write for either the ukulele or the piano and produces indie pop. I would define it as. The most recent update is that Susi started going on testosterone and now has 1 single with a voice visibly lowered.
Darling, eat my insides. Don't I make you insane? Don't you want me closer, or are we playing a game?
Another artist I want to talk about is Jennifer, and I think they've been uploading music since 2021. No, they've literally been uploading since 2023. But I discovered them on Instagram. They're a band of a trans guy and a trans girl. The trans guy's name is Leah.
This is Fig. Leah's here too. Say hi, Leah.
Hey! Hey guys, I'm Eli from Jennifer.
And then Fig, the trans girl, and like...
So is Fig the name you were born with, or is Fig the name you chose? And if you chose it, why?
Their band bio on YouTube says that they met at a bar when Leah wanted to hook up with Fig's friend. So what a love story in the making. And they only have 2 songs, technically 3, if you consider this troll song part of their discography. I do not. I wanted to talk about them anyways because despite the fact that they only have 2 songs,
one of them being very autogynephilic and kind of offensive,
they are both bangers. You have Cut Me Open. I'm going to use it as the background for the trailer of my upcoming TV show. I want somebody to make a TV show based on one of the novels I am working on right now. And this is going to be the trailer music in the background, Cut Me Open. The other song is Girl Class. I want that in the show too. I want that to be during like an intimate moment sort of scene. They're both great. Jennifer, please compose more songs. What is wrong with you? Yeah, bro, like one time I composed 5 songs in 1 week and I'm not even a verified artist. Jennifer has 2 songs, but they're both, well, one is about gender and the other seems to be about a toxic relationship, or just a relationship in general. Yeah. I don't really fit into most stereotypes, but this is probably one stereotype I very clearly fit. My own songs explore a convoluted relationship with God, gender, mental health, even self-harm. I use music to express myself. I am also a garage ukulele player and guitar player.